everybody. Welcome to our O3 webinar series, What's New in Work Packaging. So today's webinar is a special treat. It's going to be a special edition with a co-presented, co-hosted webinar. We are happy to be collaborating with Concord Academy for today's presentation. So today's topic is how self-paced AWP training is addressing training needs in a remote and COVID-safe environment. Happy to have you with us today. So before we get started, we do want to take a brief moment to have a safety topic. Today's topic is social media awareness. So social media has become a regular part of our day-to-day lives. And while there's many benefits to social media, such as staying in touch with our friends and our families and sharing those important life moments and milestones, there really has been some negative impacts that have been documented when it comes to social media. So, there we go. Very touchy mouse this morning. So 1/3 of Americans really say that they are on social media pretty regularly. And of those, even the younger ones say they're half of the time they are on social media. So that's really a lot of interactivity and a lot of action going on online. But there has been a negative correlation with mental health and physical health with being online too often and some of the negative impacts that has. So what can you do? We are really taking a look at how much time we're spending online and how we spend that time online. Are you being a positive influence? Are you holding yourself accountable to creating a safe space online for yourself and for others? I've recently watched the documentary, The Social Dilemma on Netflix. If you haven't taken a chance to watch that, I really recommend you do. It's very eye-opening when you look at how social media content is curated specifically for you, and also how people are using that to advertise to you. So take a moment, just take stock of what you're doing online and have some accountability for yourself and for others. So keep sharing those photos, but also be responsible. So that was just a brief moment. Hope that you take that information to heart. Now we'll jump into today's webinar. So for our agenda today, as I mentioned, this is a co-hosted webinar with both O3 and Concord Academy. So I'll introduce you to our speakers today. And then we'll talk about why go digital. Why is it important that training in technology is a part of your plans, especially as you begin to introduce advanced work packaging in your organization? Then we'll talk about the importance of combining technology with your training program and how that helps people really take what they've learned and put it into action right away. Ulfa will share with us what really the Concord and O3 partnership looks like, and then she will pass it over to Anne, and she's going to talk through what to expect during an implementation when you're working with the two companies together. Excited to share with you the case study that we have today, where we're going to talk about what's called learn plus do. When we're talking about learning AWP and then doing AWP and combining those together. And then we'll share a case study of how we've already worked together and put that into place. And then we'll round it out with key takeaways and open it up for any questions that you may have. So some housekeeping items. If you have questions throughout the presentation, we encourage you to put those into the GoToWebinar chat box over to the right. So you can either put those directly into the questions panel, or if you would like to remain anonymous, you can and send those directly to me through the chat window, and I will moderate any questions you have at the end of the presentation. Everyone that's attending today, and even those that aren't, if you register for any O3 webinar, you do receive a copy of the recording and a copy of the slides so that you can review it later and hopefully share it with other people in your organizations. So we're excited to get started, and I will begin to introduce to you our lovely ladies. So excited to have a great looking group today. So everyone say hi. So today we have with us Ulfa Hamdi. She is the founder and CEO of Concord Academy as part of Concord Project Technologies. She is a global expert in capital project execution and strategy. She's also an engineer, an inventor, and a Silicon Valley entrepreneur. So lots of high high praise there for all the work that she's been doing. And you probably recognize her face as part of the AWP or Advanced Work Packaging Institute. So she shared a lot of great content and research that she's done around the area of AWP. And she's also an internationally recognized researcher. So happy to have you with us today, Olfa.
Thank you.
Also joining us is Ann Randall. So Ann is the Director of Client Success here with us at O3 Solutions. She has 15 years of experience implementing enterprise level software. She's also really familiar with introducing technology in spaces where maybe it's new to those that are using the technology. She has lots of experience with training and consulting tens of thousands of software users on how to really take technology and make that process work in a digital environment. So happy to have you with us today, Ann.
Hey, my pleasure.
Great. So at this time, if you guys will please turn off your cameras, we're going to focus in on the presentation, but we will all be back online. And you'll get to see our faces during the question session for the end of the presentation. Great, thank you. All right, so before we dive into the details, I wanted to give a high-level overview of who is Concord. So the Concord Academy offers a suite of best-in-class training options for leaders who want to empower their people with cutting-edge, outcome-focused instruction. And Olfa will share a little bit more with you about what Concord Academy is doing to support both workplace planning and AWP. As far as O3 Solutions, I'm happy to have any new people on the line today. If you need a brief introduction into O3, O3 Solutions is a modern SaaS platform that leverages advanced work packaging and agile best practices to disrupt the status quo for companies in industrial construction who want to improve productivity, safety, quality, and predictability. So that's just a high level. Again, Ann will dive into the details of what we're doing specifically around the area of training and technology. So at this time, I will turn the presentation over to you, Olfa, and you can get us started on the conversation of why it's important to go digital.
Thank you so much, Mandy. It's really a great pleasure to be here and to speak to our industry of a new product, a new innovation that helps improve our industry. And I would say that going digital has been on the agenda of top executives in the industry, of project leaders, of project teams, everybody. But with COVID, that has accelerated in a way, and it has accelerated the digital transformation inside our industry. Now, when we look at the effects of COVID, I mean, this is some of the data that was shared by actually Josh at the AWP conference, where we know, okay, COVID has impacted our industry by affecting oil prices, by we've seen projects actually get either shelved or rescheduled. We've seen pausing in a way on some of the spending, even a reduction in capital spending by as much as 20 to 30%. And there has been every company in a way has acted differently, but the general trend is that we've seen a reorganization of personnel as well. And especially, a lot of those programs and initiatives that were in place or were getting started, they were paused or, reduced. But the one thing that we know we need actually in terms of reacting to this the right way is that we need to continue invest in our people. The construction industry, the capital projects industry is a people industry. Project can't succeed if we don't have the right people with the right competencies. And so continuing the collaboration, establishing a culture of disciplined collaboration, using technology has been I would say a distinguisher to those projects and those companies that in a way will succeed and make it. And so in that regard, actually for Concord, we've been doing AWP and predictability thinking training for years, but our model has been we do it in person. So we gather people inside a room on a site, in a construction site, in a company engineering office, and we do the training in the traditional way, which is face-to-face with teams in one place. When we were planning to go digital, but it was something like slower or slowlier than what we intended. But then when the situation within COVID happened, the question that we asked ourselves, which is the question that our clients asked us, is how to advance our people's capabilities to be able to deliver the on-time and on-budget goals in times like these. And the question to that, and the answer in a way to such a question has been, we need to develop a self-paced training that takes into account these features. We need everybody to go through this independently of their time zone. So they would do it in their own environment, at their own pace, in their own time. We needed the training to actually respect the environment and the careers of each of the people, project people, basically taking it. So it has to incorporate and fit the adult learning methodologies that would enable somebody to acquire that competency, to acquire that knowledge, while they are doing what they're doing, while they are busy delivering projects, solving issues, you know, in whatever role they are, whether it's procurement, management, engineering, construction, supervision, workplace planning, whatever that is. We also needed this training and this program to be scalable in that regard, you know, in a way that evens out people's access to knowledge inside projects and organizations. So whether you want to train 10 people or 1,000 people, the process is the same. The process is scalable and time effective. We also needed the training to be not just about what is, so definitions. It's really about the how-to. And this is a principle that has driven our partnership with O3 as well, as we looked into how do we take the fundamentals and the how-to, and then we enable the practitioner to actually try it. And that's where the power of technologies like the O3 technology on AWP. And then we looked at basically developing this in the sense that it needs to be standards oriented. So if somebody is in Johannesburg or in Houston or in Tunis or in Singapore, they speak the same language, they understand the same basic standard, and then they customize that to their business processes based on their environment. And then the one thing we discovered by developing something like this that takes into account all of these features, we realized with our partnership with O3 is that when this training, the self-paced training happens prior to the start of the technology, the practitioner, you know, technology on AWP, the buy-in increases tremendously from all of the users, all of the project team to the process of AWP in addition to the technology. So, I mean, I would like to put this into the context of training, not just technology driven, but training overall, especially right now when we want to cut cost, we think of cutting cost on training. I mean, that's, you know, a sort of a reflex that we might have, but it's the wrong reflex, because research shows that 69% of the most effective change programs offer training before and after go live. The other way of looking at this is that it's truly unfair to a project team, to a capital project program, a site program, a small project, a mega project. It's unfair to ask people to adopt a new methodology, whether it's AWP, workplace planning, or any other predictability related methodology, without training them. And this is, in a way, you know, the technology piece of it actually helps foster that. I will let Anne to talk a little bit more about the technology side of things, and then we'll go deeper into the details of the training program and the technology program.
Thank you, Ulfa. Decades of data on adult learning methodologies tell us time and time again that adults have to marry the conceptual knowledge that Ulfa was talking about with hands-on job training to be effective. Ulfa and I had a lot of fun talking about this because we like to get really deep into adult learning methodologies, and we've been in the training realm for a while. And we talked about that if you just teach concepts, people have a hard time relating that information in the real world. And if you get lazy and you skip the concept and that learning and go straight to the doing, users don't buy into the change and you're stuck with a big change management issue. Our industry does a really good job of hands-on training overall. But one of the challenges we're seeing in trying to teach AWP is that a lot of people are using unstructured tools like spreadsheets or how to do AWP on a whiteboard with a notebook. And this can result in a lot of confusion and frustration. The first time a planner puts together a work package, this should not be a wide open creative experiment. Good news, guys, there is technology available today to provide the structure so users can apply those learned AWP concepts, practice putting together work packages and managing constraints, and then finally even understand the data analytics at the end. AWP training in O3 works because it is a highly structured tool that walks them through their process with pre-populated data that they already understand and recognize. Overall, you've got to integrate technology into AWP training because it does allow for a more highly structured, guided, and realistic experience for trainees and doesn't feel so bland and sandboxy. So I'm sure you guys are excited to hear a little bit more about the Concord training. Ulfa, will you take some time to dig deeper?
Yes, absolutely. You know, Concord specializes in not what we call predictability, knowledge empowerment. And so our goal is basically to help everybody that we work with, whether they're an owner, an EPC, a contractor organization, a consulting, a technology organization, help advance predictable project delivery through the development of knowledge and through empowering everybody involved, whether it's a client or a partner or a contractor. In our approach to looking into how to advance that and achieve that into the industry, we developed this partnership with O3, which we're very, very happy with, to be able to achieve what we call the learn plus do. The learn plus do is you learn through the fundamentals, the standard, which is technology agnostic, and then you do with the solution that enables you to actually practice the methodology in AWP. I would say, you know, as we go through this presentation, I'll present more around the learn, and we'll talk about the do part. And then after that, we'll look at the case study, which is the environment, the shell environment where we collaborated on to test out this learn plus do model. So when it comes to the Concord Academy AWP curriculum and training, I will share with you today 3 cornerstones basically of the program. The very first one is the self-paced AWP 101. This is a crash course. It's really for busy leaders who need to understand AWP. You'll understand the what is basically, and there is no prerequisite to take in this course. Anybody could take it, not just capital project professionals. Software, you know, people involved with AWP can take it. Salespeople, consultants, you know, from all levels. So anybody that comes across AWP and wants to know what this is about in the context of capital projects, this course, the AWP 101, basically covers that. And the way it's structured, I'm showing you here on the right side, we always have the same structure. It's based on a number of lessons. After each lesson, there is a quiz that tests the learning you acquired in that lesson. I would like to mention that for this specific one, the AWP course, the Crush 101 course, in this course, we also explain the stage gate system of a capital project. So we do not make any assumption in this course that somebody understands capital projects overall or has experience with capital projects. So the importance of this course is really to enable as many people to be aware about AWP and not make assumptions, the wrong assumptions about AWP in terms of definitions, in terms of what is, why do companies do it, what's happening about it in our industry. The second element is, or the second course is a certification. So we distinguish training from certification, and I'll explain the difference afterwards. This one is for work-phase planners specifically and work-phase planning. And it is about mastering the fundamentals on work-phase planning, which we know are mature in the industry right now, and everybody agrees upon them and have been tested out and have been rolled out. So we developed these fundamentals to cover pre-construction and construction phases, so imminent construction and construction. And it is based on a foundation. It's recognized as a foundation to project and company-wide implementation of work-phase planning. In fact, anybody that goes through this, whether they are an actual work-phase planner or somebody involved in the process of work-phase planning. So that could be, a project manager on a site-based project. It could be a project controls person. It could be a procurement specialist involved with the work-phase planning process. So anybody that is involved with work-phase planning needs to access this fundamental certification. In a way, this, the same structure is in place. So this is a course that basically gets completed within 4 hours. We have an average completion duration of about 2 days. And, it covers, as I mentioned, pre-construction and construction. The third, so within this in particular, the work-phase planning one, the Concord work-phase planning certification, combined with O3's digital work-phase planning, and that's going into the O3 environment and actually creating IWPs and managing constraints and all of these, good elements of work-phase planning. We actually look at that combination as the ability to ensure the creation or the development of what we call work-phase planning masters in your sites, in your company. So please feel free to reach out so that we can get into more details on that. The next curriculum, which is the most comprehensive one, and the one that is actually looking at AWP in a holistic life cycle view, is the Advanced Work Packaging Fundamentals Certification. So this one is for certified AWP professionals. In this course, we actually cover and test the knowledge and the learning on the standard and the fundamentals of AWP, from setup, project setup, to definition, feed, to a detailed engineering, construction, and procurement as well. We also look at it from a project control standpoint, and we look at it basically from a roles and responsibilities, lessons learned, and all the key aspects associated with becoming professional in AWP. This one is ideal for project managers, AWP champions, and basically anyone with a certain minimum requirements to be able to qualify to get this course, basically. But anyone that's looking to dive deep into the details of AWP per phase and become professional in understanding the fundamentals. If we take a look at the life cycle of projects, so as you can see in this slide, looking at traditional project phases, we know projects start with definition, detailed engineering, then construction, then commissioning and startup. The parallel to that from an AWP standpoint is project setup, development of the path of construction, which is a standalone deliverable, a formal deliverable, the creation of engineering work packages, CWPs, construction work packages, and IWPs, installation work packages, which constitute work-phase planning. Just a small note for those who are not very familiar with this, please refer to the AWP 101 crash course or one of the free webinars and information that we publish within Concord Academy, and O3 also does that to understand AWP at a high level. So when you take a look at this, the two certifications on work-phase planning and AWP, as you can see them here, work-phase planning covers the work-phase planning phase, and AWP covers the entire life cycle. So this is a view of that. And the way we develop them is that they're designed to scale. So you can literally train hundreds or thousands of professionals in few weeks or few days if you'd like to. I mean, depending on the discipline, of course, and the process. This takes me to sharing with you some of the feedback. Again, we're sharing with you here a proven program that has been ongoing, has been taken by hundreds of people so far globally. Everybody that goes through this rates this automatically. So we follow a standard independent rating process. We have a solid rating of 4.6 out of 5. And here are some quotes of some of the people that took the course, mentioning how comprehensive and easy and connects theory to practice. I will let Anne speak about the do part and presenting how do you practice AWP once you acquire the knowledge and the fundamentals using the O3 solution.
Thank you, Ulfa. So once the users complete the AWP Academy, as you can tell, they know what a work package is. The hands-on practice creating a work package in O3 allows trainees to see what the package components are, how to put them together, and all of this is by their company or site's process. If the client provides us a lot of juicy project level detail, we can get really specific with those package components so the training looks as real as possible. Real names of work planners, real materials lists, real constraints lists. So that can be really helpful as they're going through it. O3 will often be configured to the site or project's requirements, from the way the package looks with the required fields to the approval process and the release process. However, if you are brand new to AWP and you haven't figured this out yet, we have some out-of-the-box solutions. So it's not necessary to have that level of detail, but it's really helpful if we can incorporate that for the trainees. For additional guidance, O3 will offer product tours inside of the solution that lets a user know where to click next and what to complete, so they don't have to worry about what step do I do next or what button do I push next. What makes this process really helpful is the trainee is using drop-down menus, pre-configured data sets, and they're building a realistic package. The data is familiar, so they can focus on the steps versus annoying details such as, well, this isn't my list of materials. I would never have this kind of list. One thing we wanted to emphasize is this training is not just for work-face planners and building IWPs. Because O3 offers 10 different work packages across the whole AWP lifecycle, we can foster hands-on learning for the early planning stages and do vendor work packages. We can support engineering work packages during detailed design, of course, IWPs during construction, and then all the way through to turnover packages for the startup and commissioning phases. Most of our clients will manage constraints that are automatically created inside the tool. That means they'll see a listing of realistic constraints for that package so they can focus on acting on those constraints versus trying to make them up out of thin air. For constraint management, users will typically learn how to assign constraints to individuals or to a group of users, assign due dates, create subtasks, and input or attach any other information that would be helpful. Users also learn how to review and clear their own constraints assigned to them. The final step here is seeing how the AWP process will be measured. The metrics that the users see after they complete the self-paced training are based on AWP best practices, such as number of uncleared constraints in a package that's due within 4 weeks. We already have a library of out-of-the-box dashboards by area, such as engineering and construction, that provide a great starting point for a metrics review. Of course, if the client or the site already has metrics they want for us to use, we can create a custom dashboard to reflect it. But again, you don't have to have all of those decisions made or all of that figured out. We can use the generic pieces that's based on best practices. Since the ultimate purpose of data is to drive users to action, what's cool about this is users can click into those data widgets and those tiles you see on the screen. They'll get the detailed list of items, and then they can make corrections, clear a constraint, do whatever they need to do, and then go back and see how the data set has changed. And that really wraps it up for the hands-on training in O3. Okay, let's move on to what you can expect during an implementation. For every client that we work with, both Concord Academy and O3 will create a plan and a timeline based on the scope, the site, the project, the roles, and all of the users that need to be trained. And one thing I like about the way Ulfa has done it is a lot of her users are trained in waves, and then we can manage a really large amount of people coming through the training in these data training sets. This graphic shows a typical timeline for training work-face planners. The goal here is to keep momentum with the training so the content is staying fresh with minimal disruption to the user's work week. And this can be tricky. You don't want the training to last forever and spread across weeks and weeks and weeks and months. However, you can't just cram everything down their throats within a matter of days. Otherwise, they're going to be burnt out. So we find that this is a really nice frequency and a nice pattern. For week 1, we would look at who needs to be trained and which courses are required. Our project management teams will handle the registration process. Week 2, this is typically when self-paced training can begin for the first group, and they're going through the Concord AWP education. The users, as Ulfa said earlier, can spread this training out however they want. If they want to do a marathon day of several hours and knock it out all together, they can. For a lot of users, they like to take a couple of hours over a couple of days and spread it out across a week. One thing that we do to help keep accountability with this is there is a timeline for when each user should complete the training, so they can't just take forever. That means the information would get stale. Week 3, now that user has finished the AWP courses, they're ready for hands-on learning in O3. They'll complete their own sessions at their own pace, just like the Concord training. And then, of course, O3 also has a timeline for users to complete the training so they can stay on track. Week 4, now the self-paced training is complete and it's time to bring in a subject matter expert. This is a live trainer in O3 who will walk users through building work packages and reporting on work packages and help reinforce what they've learned on their own. And the benefit here is you do need a human at the end to answer any questions that you may have, because this is a brand new process. What's great about that is that week 4, we're not talking about things like how to log into software or what is a work package. We're focusing on the nitty-gritty details of their AWP process so they feel really prepared. By week 5, enough talking about it, guys. Let's get those users out there and let them try the process for real. So at this point, they should be building out their AWP packages in whatever production or technology solution that they have available. Great if that solution is O3. The good thing about this process, we know people are new, they're going to mess up, they're going to make mistakes, but there's really nothing that they can mess up that we can't fix. So now you guys understand Learn Plus Do and the timeline it might take for a typical workplace planning certification. Now we want to share how we did this in the real world together. Earlier you heard Ulfa talk about the COVID and scalability challenges across the industry and how we're all seeing a lot of companies scrambling to shift from most of our training being face-to-face to most of our training being digital. It is a no joke effort. O3 had the luxury of already having a proven digital solution in place pre-COVID, so we were already used to this world. And you heard the story about how Concord really pivoted quickly and got to online, seeing this coming down the line. So I think for us, we were in a really good position because both companies already had online self-paced training. We already felt very comfortable in the digital landscape. So the new piece for us with this case study was focused around how do we provide an end-to-end solution and how do we merge our solutions together so it's a really good experience for the client. All right, the client in this case study had AWP already implemented on other sites and had standards in place, so they weren't completely new to AWP, but the people at this offshore location were brand new to AWP. So interesting scenario. Also, the client had never scaled AWP for this type of portfolio. So that was some new challenges that they asked us to come in and help them with. So the first thing we did with Concord and O3 and the client, we got a plan together. We had to select an asset for a pilot with the team we thought would be the most open to change and trying out a new process. And that also was a really good choice because the people that were the workplace planners that had been tapped to do this, to take the lead, were very hungry and ready to make this change. Then we sent those planners through the academy training. This had to be online and it had to be self-paced because of the offshore schedules. It would have been impossible to conduct in-person training across all of those shifts. The academy training was great. It allowed them to get the fundamentals of AWP down and speak AWP. And it also introduced them to the idea that there's a more structured way to do construction planning that also combines engineering. So we're able to get through all those mental shifts of a brand new process. After that, the planners went through the O3 online courses. This was a blend of self-paced training and then live deep dive virtual training with a subject matter expert. In training, we really emphasized basic CWP and IWP build outs, and then a very simple and elegant package approval process, and then how to release those packages quickly to the field. Within 4 weeks, it was really exciting that we had the first asset live, creating work packages and clearing constraints. So this team was a great testing ground for the other assets. And then once the other team started seeing that this was not going to be a behemoth learning experience and they could do it within a matter of weeks, it was a lot easier to get buy-in. A big takeaway from our side is that we got to let our experts spend time with planners talking about really deep and meat and potatoes questions and issues and processes. We weren't teaching them how to spell or talk AWP. We weren't talking about what is a construction work package. That had all been taken care of. So we got to really leverage the expertise and work on optimizing that process versus explaining fundamentals. Here are the outcomes from that implementation. The lead and initial 40 work-face planners completed all of their required training. Ulfa's team and our team were really good. We have training administrators chasing folks, making sure that they are following up and doing their coursework. We did have other resources, such as users that just clear constraints, but don't need to have the full package build-out training, complete enough of that online learning to understand their part of the process. On average for this site, it only took 2 to 3 days for users to complete the self-paced training. And on the back end, this is something I think that's a secret ingredient. Both Ulfa's team and our team, we had training managers that were managing registrations, course completions, and monitoring progress. So we send out basically reports to the client each week about where our numbers are against our initial training goals, so everybody knows where they are. While the dashboard and data points were really exciting, I think the real win was the user feedback that we got from the AWP Concord courses. These are quotes directly from users that completed the Concord online training. We received unanimous feedback that the course was awesome. They thought it was the right size and the right amount of content for AWP first-timers. And Ulfa, I think you and I talked about this. We think sometimes where courses can go wrong is asking brand new people to drink from a fire hose and learn everything at once versus right-sizing that learning.
I would like to mention that it's no surprise that we had this kind of like great feedback. So the way the Concord Academy is set up, so there is a governance board that obviously pays attention to the standard, to the quality of the knowledge involved, and to making sure that that knowledge is standard and about the fundamentals and does not confuse people, especially in relationship to their own business processes in their own environment. So that's number one. Number two is within the Concord team, we have education specialists. So these are people that specialize in learning. That's it. It doesn't have to be in our industry or other industry. They just understand how do adults learn. And they have worked with us, and we work together on creating this knowledge and the flow of information and the breakdown of the lessons and the courses in a way that makes it so easy for somebody to acquire the knowledge and have a pleasant experience while going through this. So there is a lot of thinking behind it. And what the reason I'm very proud of this collaboration here and this partnership, it's because both companies, O3 and Concord, we take quality of service very seriously. So we client satisfaction, responsiveness, being basically very formal in our approach. And I think that was one like a sort of a great alignment there, which led to a seamless and positive experience for the project team members. And I think our success is measured by the clients and the project team people satisfaction. So in that regard, we hope to see this extend to the entire industry.
Well said. Okay, to wrap up the case study, here's a review of the main benefits. We were able to reduce safety concerns during COVID-19 with online training. We had an overwhelmingly positive reception of the courses from people, remember, brand new to AWP. We successfully trained 40 key personnel, mainly work-face planners. And then we also successfully trained 2 AWP champions that we handed the torch over so they can continue all of this great learning and process change within that portfolio. Today, the client has expanded their program. Since we came off of this implementation, they have doubled the number of projects from where we started. And what's cool about this is it did not cost them any more training dollars to do this. They really scaled their education and learning well, and the leads at the sites are training new people. And that's really what we want. We love the train the trainer approach. Olfa, is there anything else you want to add to the benefits before we open it up for questions?
I would say I'll put this into the context of the industry, larger industry. So this is one specific case study, but maybe it would be interesting for people to know that these very 2 programs, the work-face planning one and the AWP one, both of them right now have been taken by hundreds of people. And so this is one specific site, but the approach and the learning has been taken by multiple nationalities, multiple geographical locations, and also multiple types of companies. So it's not just for owner or EPC or contractor, even for consulting. So it is in a way scalable in that regard.
Great, thank you. Mandy, we are turning the mic back over to you.
Awesome. So before we dive into questions, just want to wrap it up with some key takeaways. So hopefully you took this information in, and just some reminders. Really, one of the points we want to make is digital training is a must, especially now, having that online self-paced option available. In COVID especially, but really as we look at the amount of people that need to be trained to understand advanced work packaging and work-face planning and roll it out at a large scale, that we're seeing a lot of industry leaders do, whether you're on the owner operator side or the contractor side or EPC firm. We're really seeing a wide scale adoption of advanced work packaging. And in order to get the training out there and the education out there, you really need to take a look at moving that into a digital environment. We talked about the learn plus do AWP. It's super important with adult learning, after you've learned some new concept, that you move it out of theory and you move it into action. And that's something that we take very seriously. And that has been introduced here with this partnership. So not only do you learn the concepts and the fundamentals of AWP, you dive directly in and put that learning into action, which helps you pick up that information more quickly. This program was designed to launch quickly and have you up and running within weeks. So rather than trying to move from either PowerPoint slides or in-person learning and it be more on the auditory side, you kind of kick on those 3 areas of learning: visual, auditory, and kinesthetic, where you put that into action right away. And this program, as we showed, can be up and running and in action within as short as 4 to 5 weeks. We've also been able to prove that this program can scale. So this was implemented, the case study we shared was implemented on a portfolio of projects. So these weren't work-face planners from one single project. It was in different locations that were happening simultaneously. So this can either be a mega project where you have multiple contractors on site, or it could be a portfolio of smaller projects. So it can scale to meet your needs no matter what those may be. And then this really helps you, this partnership with O3 and Concord can help you move from being able to train 10 people at a time to hundreds and even thousands of people at a time in a few weeks, because these programs can run simultaneously and in parallel. You aren't restricted to, is the trainer available today? That completely goes away and makes this this type of education quickly scale and learning presented to a bunch of people at the same time. So super excited about what's been done, what's been accomplished, and what's already been proven out there this year, and hope that we can continue to scale that as we go. So at this time, I'm going to ask our speakers to turn their videos back on so that people can see your lovely faces as you're asking and answering questions. And as a reminder, please put any questions that you may have in the chat box, and I will moderate those. So we do have, it looks like, some questions already coming in. So I will get started right away. And I have not had a chance to read these, so I may be reading these verbatim for a second here. So, in a capital project for a government agency. Hi, Maurizio. So can you please address how to implement AWP through this training? I'll leave that to Olfa. So if you want to look at the governmental lens and getting started, you know, at the very beginning, low maturity on AWP, like where would Maurizio need to get started?
Okay. So, I mean, my understanding on, you know, there are so many ways to answer this question, because when we say government projects, that's the question, right? It's about government projects, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Not all government projects are the same. You know, if it's a nuclear plant, it's not the same as a museum. So, and if it's an infrastructure project, it's different, right? So I would say for an organization that is, you know, starting with AWP, the number one thing to do is to develop awareness and to do a sort of a maturity assessment. So what that means is basically you take a look at your organization, you understand the AWP standard, and you make a comparison between your as is in terms of capital project process delivery, and most organizations, government organizations, tend to have a quite formal project delivery process, depending on the case. Again, there are exceptions. So you compare that with the AWP standard, and you develop a sort of a roadmap to a maturity roadmap. In that roadmap, of course, technology is an accelerator to that, right? It's something that could unlock the transformation, make it faster. But there is no replacement for the fact that you need to understand the standard. That's through training. First, know where you are and compare the as is with the standard. I would say that's my general advice, but again, every type of government funded project is different. So we would need to look at the case, you know, on a case by case you know, view.
Mm-hmm. Okay, another question that we had was around commissioning. So are you currently offering training specifically to just commissioning or AWP in the commissioning process? Is that something that's on the roadmap? And if so, like how would we get started?
So I would answer that question is currently no. And the reason is that whenever we provide a training, we have either a certification or a training. When it's a certification, it's about a process that we know is mature and proven in the industry. The way AWP interfaces with commissioning, there are best practices, there are cases, we have some knowledge about it, but it's not a standard, it's not proven yet. So developing a training about it is not available right now, but it is part of our 2021 agenda for the Concord Academy. So we always distinguish. A certification is something that has been proven. We know now AWP has been a best practice in the industry since 2016. I published my thesis on it at UT. We published when I were at the IR 272 in 2013. CII published that in 2013. And workplace planning has been a best practice by COA since 2006. So there is, in the industrial sector, there is over a decade or more actually of AWP implementation. And within Concord, over the past 4 years, we helped implement it in so many environments. We actually developed, we know that when it comes to certification, these specific practices are standards. For commissioning, we're not at the standard level yet. So we're looking at the training side of it and learning from the industry about it so that we could get there. And that's part of our 2021 agenda, but it's not available right now.
Great. Yeah, I do know Construction Industry Institute has really just started to dive into startup and commissioning and how AWP affects that. So it's great to hear there's progress being made. So, Anne, I'm going to address this next question to you. I think, Olfa, you can add color. There's a question about the stage gate process. So can you talk a little bit on the technology side, Anne, about if the stage gate process was built based on someone's specific requirements, or if you collected those stage gate requirements from multiple clients? Can you talk a little bit about the technology side? And again, we can let Olfa talk about the training as well.
Yes. So, I mean, one thing that we really like to leverage in our technology are boilerplates and templates based on best practices and, just kind of industry adopted assumptions and norms. So I think the question I would ask back is, as far as stage gates go, are you looking to get a list of stage gates? Are you looking for advice for what those might look like, or do you already have those in place? Most of the clients we work with have those in place as part of their typical, project management and project director strategy. So we just need to take that data, and then we can customize a lot of the flow of the data, the processes and the fields based on what the client already has. We have a highly configurable site, so that's something we do probably 90% of the time. Every now and then we'll come across someone who's looking to, shake those up or reevaluate them. And in that case, we just have some, out of the box options and templates that at least get the conversation going. Ultimately, it's up to the customer to just configure the stage gate, checklist and items and fields, approvals, all those different things based on their processes. And it is typically different, site to site, client to client.
Yeah, I would add to that. That's a great response. I would add to that if we take a look at the at the stage gate system for capital projects outside of the from a process standpoint, dependently of the technology, the digitization of things, capital projects are and will remain in a way to function based on stage gates. The stage gate system is something that has governed the industry for a long time, and it is a way for us to monitor the progress based on stages and to do assurance on those. The next thing to develop and to improve in the stage gate system is this ability to be able to close gaps, to minimize risk in a time where we could take action and not lose predictability in projects. When we have only over a 3-year project, 3 stages, for example, 3 gates, sometimes it's too late to solve some of the issues. The power of introducing AWP as part of that, and then introducing technology with AWP as part of that, is that now you're more into an active assurance process. So it's like you're doing a small gates. At any point in time, you can tell where we are. Do we have issues? Are we late? Do we need to adjust? Do we need to add staffing? What do we need to do? So I would say the power of AWP and technology is, in relationship to the stage gate system, is really to enable active assurance, which is what we need in the industry.
Great, thanks. And thanks so much, Mark, for the question. So on the next question, what rules or approach do you consider for creation of an optimum path of construction, as this is the key factor for field performance and resulting costs? So Olfa, do you want to take that one? Okay.
Well, what I love about these questions and is that AWP it just makes everybody involved in a capital project think about construction. So we all start developing a construction-driven mindset, and I'm very excited about that shift in our industry. The path of construction is the single most important deliverable in delivering AWP successfully and completely. So you create packages, yes, but the packaging process is it's like garbage in, garbage out, right? So if you have a good plan, you're going to have great packages. If you have a bad plan, you're going to have issues with your packages. The path of construction is what enables the development of that sequence of construction in a way that takes into account all of that input, all of the factors, all of the context, and aligns engineering procurement with construction. There are many criteria to developing the good path of construction. As a matter of fact, I'm a proponent of adding the path of construction as a key deliverable in the FID, full investment decision package, because the quality of a path of construction is an indicator of how predictable and successful the project will be. These criteria, are based on the quality of the input, how you develop, you break down your areas, how do you incorporate engineering and align engineering with that. You look at so many factors impacting construction. And so, yes, there are many criteria that enable that. I would say if you go through the AWP fundamentals certification, there is an entire chapter about the path of construction as a standalone deliverable, which is something that it was not part of the original, IR 272. But with experience across everybody, we realized the path of construction is a standalone deliverable, and everybody's moving toward that. So within the training, the certification, there is an entire chapter about it with specific lessons about the criteria on how to break down work areas, the components of a path of construction, who gets involved in it, and all of the elements around it as well. So I hope we have more time to explain it, but I hope that gives some answers.
Yeah, no, that's great. We definitely, I think the three of us could spend hours talking about certain topics within AWP for sure. And so I think this might be a good one for you. Do you allow projects to access online learning for new people as they join during the duration of a project? So there any kind of limitations there? So the second follow-up was, or do projects need to buy an additional seat each time a new worker comes into the project?
This is my favorite question because it's got such a happy answer. No, you do not. So the way that we, standardize the solution is that it's for a project, it is for a site with an unlimited number of users. So it doesn't matter how many contractors you have, 10, 100, 1,000. Everyone will have access to O3 without you having to, nickel and dime those seats. And that's what's really exciting. It's a come one, come all mentality. And I think that's one thing that makes this really special, and something that I love about the software is it doesn't cost anything to get somebody else in there.
So that's on the O3 side, which is fair. So I want to give a chance to discuss the seats on the training side, because I do believe we have some structured packages that are available. So Ulfa, if you want to talk a little bit about that.
So the way the training seats function is that because our trainings are by practitioner for practitioners, so they're not, to the company in general, they're to the individual. So every single person gets their own completion records, credentials, and so on. So we monitor that. The way we have a standard price, we obviously, depending on the number, with brackets, subscriptions as well. And the way it happens from a delivery standpoint is that you could either sign up people from day one, or you could actually buy seats that are available for a certain period of time, a year or more, and then you sign up people, as they come and go. Basically, we understand the reason we went for that because we know turnover is an issue in our industry, and when you're implementing AWP, anybody new that comes in, whether they're transferred or they're hired, they need to get trained so that they buy into the process and they don't disrupt the process. And so you can buy seats that are available based on a subscription, and then you'll have a dedicated resource. I mean, that's as Anne mentioned, that's one of our secrets. We manage that client management very well, and anytime there is somebody new, they get signed up at any point in time you'd like them to. So.
Yeah, and just Ulfa said, we do have combined solutions. So, Concord plus O3, we've already figured those packages out and what that looks like depending on who you are and your scope and what you're looking for.
Well, it looks like we're getting close to time. So we have a couple of additional questions we weren't able to answer today, but what we will do is hold ourselves accountable for reaching directly out to anyone who asked a question that we weren't able to get to, and we'll follow up with you. O3 also will share those questions as a follow-up for anyone that registered, so that everyone has a chance to see what those answers might have been. So great conversation, great questions. Just want to be sure that we are cognizant of everyone's time today. So to wrap up, if you want to learn more about the combined solution of Concord Academy plus O3, a couple of ways to do this. You can reach out directly to Concord via the info@tconglobal.com, which is here on the screen. You can also visit online at tconglobal.com/learn. And then you can reach out directly to learn more about the technology. So we did cover some very specific pieces today, but there's lots more in the O3 platform that you can learn about. You can reach us at info@o3.solutions. Please note there is no .com. It is o3.solutions. And you can visit us online directly at our website. So we really appreciate the time that you've given us today. We hope that you found this educational and engaging. And if you have any other questions or comments, we'd love to have your feedback. So please get that over to us, and have a safe and productive day, everybody.
Hey.
Thanks again, Olfa and Ann. Have a great day.
All right, bye guys.